Welcome back to Quick Hits. I am your host, Anna Witte, and on today's episode, I am joined by a track and field and cross-country athlete. His name is Drew Thomas, a junior on the team, and additionally, he is the representative for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee for his team. So, Drew, welcome to the show. How have you been?
I'm doing well. I actually just got off quarantine a week ago, so it's nice to be outside again and seeing the world.
Yeah, oh my gosh, wow. And so I'm assuming you're in classes online and you haven't really been running either.
Yeah, I just started running again 2 days ago. I had a 2-week layoff. Me and my roommates all were positive, so we had to get through that to see where we were going, figure out how we're feeling.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys are doing well and that it's over for you. But I'm curious, so you compete in the 3K, the steeplechase, you're a cross-country runner. If I've left anything out, let me know. But which one of those events is your favorite one to compete in?
I would say either cross-country or steeple. All of them have their merits. I personally enjoy the steeple. It's something where I'm fairly competitive at. We have a lot of really good guys on the cross-country team. And with track, the distance events, they allow, with so many events, there's more opportunity to make an impact. And I was pretty proficient at steeplechase. It's fun. It's a tough race. It's only a 3K. So it's a fairly short race for a distance runner, but it's a grinder. Every 80 meters, you got a hurdle and then the water pit. And so it's fun.
Yeah, can you explain the steeplechase? Because that's not a normal event or one people really know. Can you explain what it is and kind of what it takes to compete in it?
So it's 7.5 laps. It's 3 kilometers, so just under 2 miles. And it is a hurdle every 80 meters. There's 5 hurdles per 1 lap, and the 5th hurdle being the water barrier. And they're not traditional thin hurdles. They're the 2x6 wood blocks. So there's not much kicking them over. You have to jump over it. Otherwise it's going to be a bad day for you. And then the water jump is its own individual thing. And it's tough too. You have to understand how to jump, which is something that's different from a standard hurdle. It's not just your general foot over hurdle. You step on the hurdle and then you jump into the water. My first couple times practicing it, I was convinced that you needed to jump as far out as you could to not land in the water, because my thoughts were that it would slow you down, and it looked like I was long jumping and landed 2-footed, and it was just goofy looking.
Sounds like if you're not careful, you could have like a few ankle injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to stay fairly focused on it, and before our coach ever allows us to actually try and hurdle a barrier, we'll do 2-3 weeks worth of just walking over hurdles and doing different drills to stretch out your hips and get that motion already going prior to going full speed.
Right. Did you come to Charleston Southern wanting to compete in this event, or what were your events when you first got here?
No, I had no intention of running steeplechase. I am 5'6". I'm fairly short, and so I thought trying to hurdle was no chance for Drew. I always thought it was a cool event, but I didn't believe it was something I was going to do. I thought I was going to just do the 5K for track. But my freshman year, the opportunity arose. We were kind of weak in that area, and we didn't have a lot of depth there. And so it was an opportunity for me to go to the conference meet and see what I could do. And so I took advantage of it, and now I've kind of fallen in love with it.
That's awesome. Sounds like a really fun event, but kind of probably really tricky to compete in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something you got to practice that to figure out. It's a little different than just normal running, but it's fun.
So how did you get started in running? You're from South Carolina originally. What were your how were you initially introduced to the sport?
So I kind of grew up in elementary school, just always, run around playing tag like everybody else. And there was a running club at my school in elementary school, and I joined it just for fun to see what, what it was about, and I believe I was second, third grade, somewhere around in there. They told me that there was an actual race for it, and it was at a neighboring school nearby, and went and did that, and enjoyed it. And then once it got to middle school, and you could actually compete with the high school and truly organized athletics, I was between playing that and going to play, just middle school football. And once again, I looked at myself and said at the time I was under 5 foot tall and 70 pounds soaking wet. So I figured I'd try and run, actually get to compete.
Did you compete in any other sports as well, or was it running from the get-go?
No, I did compete. I was a wrestler. My dad's the head wrestling coach at my high school back home. So I've always grown up wrestling as well. And so those are the two I always did. I didn't run track in high school. I just did cross country and wrestling. Between the two of them, I'd take a day off. And so I'd go about 8 months straight of hardcore competing. And once track came around, I said I wanted to sit at home and think about being athletic, not worrying about it.
Yeah. That's so cool. But in high school, obviously, you made the decision to come to Charleston Southern and run for them. What was that decision? How did that look like for you, and why Charleston Southern?
So the biggest thing was Coach Stincy. I was looking also at running and wrestling at a couple other different schools, and I was very torn about it. And then it was the day after our cross country state meet. I got a phone call from Coach Stincy, and I really didn't know who he was at the time. And he sent me his resume. I looked him up, did a little research on my own, and I've always, being from South Carolina, knows Charleston. I've grown up going to Folly Beach as family vacations, so there was a pool there. And then just looking at his resume and seeing that, he has the big time experience. He's coached at 2 Big Ten schools. It was pretty much a no-brainer. Came the next week for an official, and then after that, I was all in.
For me, when I go running, I don't know what to listen to or to think about. I find it boring. But for you, obviously, you enjoy it. What do you listen to when you go for long runs, or maybe what do you think about?
It depends really the length of the run and who's with me. For a shorter run, maybe I listen to music, but for the most part, I don't listen to music when I run. I don't like having headphones in. I feel like you're not being able to actually focus on the run. You're more focused on what you're listening to, and leads you to kind of get distracted. And when it's more like what we're doing is very pace oriented. So it's about how fast we can run. And so if you're constantly, worried about music or skipping songs, then you're probably not focusing on the pace, and that's the priority. And so I try not to listen to too much music. As far as just like a normal run, though, if I'm with the team, we're just kind of talking and just see where the conversation goes. It's very free flowing, just like if you're having a conversation at a dinner table, just whatever comes up, whatever's going on with everybody. And yeah, that's about it for a normal run. Racing's a little different.
Can you define the length of a normal run for you?
Yeah, so it right now with me getting back after a 2-week layoff, it's I'm very low mileage, but like full-time training, I'm one of our lower mileage guys. I only do, I do anywhere from 60 to 70 miles a week. So 8-mile run is a normal base day for me. Some of our other guys do as high as 10 to 12 on a normal day, and then on long runs can go up to 16 or 17.
Wow, that's a lot of running. But since you basically play a year-round sport, in the summer, do you take time to decompress, or are you still going 100%?
So as far as hard workouts, we're a little slower. We're not doing 2 hard workouts every week. It's one longer kind of fast-paced run once a week and just running every day. We do take 2 weeks off right after conference or regionals after track if you make it there, and same for cross country. So we get a little bit of time off, but it's few and far between that we're not running every day.
During the summer when you're home by yourself though, do you still keep up running the same amount, or do you kind of like take time to just chill?
Yeah. So there's certainly, you take some time, like with quarantine this year when everything first shut down, we were in the middle of some pretty hard training at that point. And so we all just, whenever we worked it out with coach that we were going to take our time off, we took 2 to 3 weeks and then began to build back up. But yeah, for the most part during the summer, you're still running every day. You got to keep, essentially you're not going to be able to be fit in October if you're not running in June and July.
Running for people can be very therapeutic, but for you, could you say the same for yourself, or do you say like for you it's pretty competitive?
Oh no, it has its own therapy. There's plenty of scientific studies that can argue the merits of running and just daily exercise. And I fully believe, although I am a competitive runner, there is runs that are to clear your head. Just like if you're running by yourself, it's great. That's truly similar to, people in the shower. You get to have those like thoughts by yourself, just truly you just kind of thinking about whatever, and there's a lot of benefit in that.
Very cool. Well, switching over to SAC, because that's kind of what this series is about. You've been a part of the committee for 2 years now. So how did you get involved in it initially?
So 2 summers ago, Coach Stincy texted me and said, "Hey, we have an opening for SAC. Matt's going to step down. Do you want to do it?" And I said, absolutely. My goal there is just to represent the cross country team, explain their kind of concerns, and that's really how I got tied in, was just coach.
Why did you find it important to say yes to coach, to be a part of it?
I just believe there are things that the school can improve on. I think there's room for improvement everywhere. It doesn't matter what the university is. And I believe that, cross country, we're a fairly successful team. And I would like for us to be recognized and treated as such. And I wanted to make sure that, SAC was understanding our position along with the rest of the school. And I want to benefit my teammates.
In what ways have you seen SAC kind of grow over the past 2 years, or what things have you been involved in that you've really enjoyed?
The Operation Christmas Child stuff has been, awesome. We have our packing party coming up this year, which is just all of us get together and pack boxes together. Did the same thing last year. Each team's just kind of designated different toys or, toothbrushes, socks, stuff like that to get for the Operation Christmas Child shoe boxes. And then we all come together, pack, and so that's super fun. It's beneficial. Obviously, there's plenty of people out there in greater need than myself or anyone else attending a university, and it's great to give back to those people. Along with all the diversity stuff we've been going over recently is, like I started before we actually started the show, I explained, that we want to make it clear to everyone at the university, along with prospective students, that we're very welcoming, we're loving, and ultimately it doesn't matter what we believe, it doesn't matter any of our opinions. God's going to be the one that determines whether we get in, and he sees no color, so neither should we.
Yeah, very cool. Well, also, the really cool thing I think about SAC is all student athletes from all different sports get to come together and meet together every month or every week or however that works for you guys. But how have you been able to develop relationships with other people in different sports that maybe you wouldn't hang out with outside of SAC?
It just being able to see them. We meet every 2 weeks, and so being able to see them then, it allows those connections to be built. And so, like, for example, me and the quarterback Jack have gotten to be pretty good friends at this point, just through seeing each other and passing it first, and then during the events we do, you talk to each other a little bit and then see each other in the training room, and eventually you just kind of develop those relationships, those friendships, and you go from there. And there's plenty of people that would say, through meeting other athletes in SAC, you allow yourself to be further connected in the university.
Right. Well, Drew, thank you so much for your time today. It was great having you on the show, learning a little bit more about the steeplechase and what you're doing with the track and field team, as well as your involvement in SAC. We really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. You all have a good one.